I'm Margaret N. Windsor. My real name. I was kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama. Given the name of a twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey, I married a Childers, so I still have to use the Peggy Ann Childers. My identity was stolen, and the two twins were born out of wedlock to Lina Dempsey. They were murdered about almost a year, I believe, prior to my being brought there. Well, Peggy was killed just a couple of weeks, the real Peggy, before they brought me there. And I'll leave it there. I've put it up for the last, since 2012 on Facebook and YouTube. And I usually start out telling about it because in '83 I ran in a political campaign to replace Congressman Larry McDonald, who was a doctor from Atlanta, and I'd written a book about that included him and murders that happened at the hospital there where he worked. It was a mess, and my attorney, Gene Kaiser, was a former district attorney, Fulton County, Atlanta. Um, so I'm going to leave it there. It gets into me telling the truth about a lot of people, then finding out about my kidnapping in '83 when I was flown out to Mr. Flint's. And I want you to listen to this. I don't like pornography, but if this is ever told, the horrific crimes done by people that most people admire, such as Henry Kissinger. Oh my God, where he has made the statement with Diana that she should be queen, and money was the greatest aphrodisiac to him, power and money. But this gets into doctors. Your U.S. Congress, your people up there, especially your Secretary of States and presidents, have always known about my kidnapping, the take down my father. And I want to say again in here, my father's Edward VIII. I found out in '83 after I was flown out to Mr. Flint's. He supported me in that campaign and did an editorial in Hustler magazine, which usually I put up. Um, but he was like supporting me, and people, believe it or not, Hustler magazine is an eye catcher when you can't use anything else to get people's attention. So that was part of it, but he said I knew who was responsible for his shooting. It was a program shooter. I was writing about the Tesla files that were stolen, and this is back in '76, '78. Mr. Flint was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia, near Marietta, where I live. So since I've put all this up, I'm not going to go back except to say it takes up, I don't have much space left, so I'm going to have phone space left. I'm going to have to quit videoing for a little bit anyway. But it's, well, anyway, now I've lost my train of thought putting that in. Um, I got a letter from the FBI June the 23rd of '79. I thought it was because of the book, and later I found out who my father is and the takedown of him with character assassination. My God, he wasn't even married. He was married always to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe. My aunts, Georgia O'Keefe, they have destroyed records. They had my mom, who lived in Bel Air, not Bel Air, in Beverly Hills, owned a home there and still did for a long time. Now people come in and ask the question, why couldn't she get you? What was your father doing? My father had his ID stolen by the Illuminati, the very people I'm talking about, they're not the Freemasons, Illuminati, Rockefeller, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, the Kennedy clan. And I hope everybody gets to see JFK Jr., what he did when I'm on Appalachia. And yeah, all this is true. Not one word of it is a lie that I'm aware of. Okay, now if this sounds scattered, imagine me living it and trying to tell it in the mess that was done to me. I was telling this because there are people under mind control, and I've told how it was done. In '76, it was simple as a mere ham set. There's a little bit more to it, and you have to have chips in people. Minute you say that, even though there's a lot of information up on mind control, people right away say, "Oh, well, that's mental illness or that. No, that's exactly where you're going wrong. The shootings next door at Virginia Tech, that young man wasn't mentally ill. Holmes out of Aurora, Colorado was not mentally ill when he was programmed to shoot those people. He wasn't even aware he was being programmed. It's done at such a low level, and I understand there still has to be a chip, a connection to the person. Root canal is the good one. And if I'm scattering around here trying to get it up on this video and make sense, bear with me. I'm giving this, I've got nothing out of it but hell. Paddock in Vegas that shot all those people was programmed, plain and simple. They made this kind of a joke out of, I'll call it a joke. This whole thing's been sick. Out of autopsying his brain to try to find the motive for what he was doing, the shootings. The shootings is not his motive, so you're not going to find it in any of these. It belongs to the programmers. And don't people have let this happen. Why, other than me being born and what was done to my father and mom and country and my children here when they were born? I've tried to tell all this, and I can't in one video. I can't in a lot. And people, let me rephrase it. There have been a lot of nice people respond to me. So I go back trying to explain to people. I found out in '83 that I'm the daughter and the legal heir. I'm Victoria II, the moment I was born. So I've explained this over and over. My father was married to my mom. He never married Wallace Simpson. It was a takedown by the people I've told you, and his own brother, George VI, Elizabeth. She's always known the whole thing. When I was born, because of the papers my father had signed when he was forced out, double imposter married Wallace, an American spy, and became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor. My father had papers that were legal signed that if he had an heir, the heir would inherit, would not be disinherited. And the minute I was born, I'm Victoria II, which brought him back as power of attorney. And we actually moved back, and I can remember a little bit, and yes, I can, about my kidnapping after I was told in late '83. The Brits have told me, and the Germans, and some Americans. It's the best kept secret that's not a secret I've ever heard of. Now then, where am I trying to tell this and keeping it to make sense, and I'm not in the best of health. So here I have lost my train of thought, so somebody can say something derogatory again. The media is not telling you this. They're controlled by the Illuminati, the Freemason, the very people I've told you about. Look at Rockefeller Plaza and the Rockefeller name all over NBC and everything else. It's been controlled since before my father was taken down. Back then in '36 December. They were still alive, my father and mother. They stripped him of everything because he wouldn't take orders from the Illuminati. So now, I'm going to stop here and get this in the last part of it. I'm not going to apologize anymore for trying, I hope I don't, to trying to make sense of something that's been a living hell for me. Plain and simply, it's about the use of mind control as a murder weapon. It has nothing to do with mental illness. That's a scapegoat, a diversion. There's lists because of the Tesla file that was stolen by, I understand, and this is on videos and goes back to when I started doing the book in '76. It goes in the Tesla file stolen, programming people. You could cure an illness through mind control. Back then, cancer, cure it, or create illnesses. And that's exactly what's been happened with AIDS and Ebola. And I was writing about Center for Disease Control there in Atlanta, and it had connections back to a man who had all the credentials you need, an honest man. They killed him in 1980. The Power of Psychiatry was the last book he wrote. He indirectly tried to help me through my attorney. And Gene Strokerman, who was killed at Piedmont Hospital, Larry McDonald, Congressman doctor I wrote about, I was in that campaign to replace him in '83 when he was supposedly went down in the KAL. From Juneau, Alaska to Seoul, South of Korea. And conveniently enough, former President Nixon was taken off that flight just prior to its takeoff, and 260 drowned. Now, I sound scattered, I suppose. It's a little hard to put up on and do it daily and go back and get hopefully people listening, because this is what has to be stopped. The mass shootings is like telling it before the world, nobody's listening. Let me go back to Grottoes, Virginia in '84, '85, when Mr. Flint, who was shot by a program shooter, and endorsed me for U.S. Congressional to replace Larry McDonald and for president. And if you think that's a joke, nobody else is telling you all this. But anyway, now I am going to forget. Anyway, he furnished me a car for a year, and I guess I'll insert this because this isn't doing me any good. It's early in the morning, and I quite frankly don't feel good. I've put it up so much, I don't know where my children are, and I put up yesterday about most of my family have become part of the Illuminati, the very people that kidnapped me. How? It's the global government, the United Nations, that was allowed to come into power when they took down my father in '36. Look at all the treaties and all this that were signed after they took him down, because he did the right thing. And they got rid of him and then got rid of me. And Elizabeth has known all this. She actually, when we moved back into the castle, or my father should have been back in control because I was made queen the minute I was born. He had my power of attorney and guardianship. And, George the Sixth couldn't have that in the Illuminati. He went along with them. So anyway, now that is getting convoluted. So I'm just going to say it has to do with the Tesla files. You've always been able to cure an illness or create one. And the Tesla files were stolen by, and this is on record, by Donald Trump, President Trump, who I like. His uncle, John George Trump, MIT, and this gets into a whole MK Ultra and all that, CIA out of Langley, and your government here. You're living good, so you don't question it, and you don't want to hear it. Well, some don't. Okay, let me rephrase it. I've been told by people that we don't care. We're going to live as good as long as we can, and not going to get involved. So, in other words, they've been able to cure illness or create them, and your economy is really built on the pharmaceuticals and the pharmaceuticals in your hospital, and your doctors and etc., and going to school, and all the inventory that goes into your hospitals and creating why has there never been any cures except for very few, and this whole year since then? Anyway, the FBI, I believe, ended up with the Tesla files from Trump's uncle. Now President Trump, fast forward to now, as president, he made a point that I always wondered about before he became president, how much he knew. He said something about Obama, probably his birth certificate, he wasn't born in the United States, so he shouldn't be president. Well, he is part of the list in the Illuminati that I put up yesterday, and there's a long list, but he's at the upper crust, just like Elizabeth and a lot of my family, and Volcker, was that his name? Soros, Kennedy's, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, etc. Bill Gates, I couldn't believe it, Warren Buffett. But anyway, I keep saying that 'cause I'm trying to go back and pick it up. You kind of got it. I wondered how, well, it is going off. I'm going to have to quit. You wonder how Trump, what he really meant, and I got it because I'm in tune. I've lived this, so I know how Trump, he was making that about Obama. Okay, Obama, not Rhodesia, what I'm trying to say in South Africa is so important. It's where his family came from. Um, and his birth certificate. Anyway, it doesn't, whether he was born in the States or not, I don't think he was, period. Um, he's part of the global government that came into place after they took down my father and kidnapped me in 36 and 41. They became in power and got rid of my dad, and that's the United Nations now. That's your global government that they talk about in the Bible, the end times. Now, I'm just going to stop here and say that to this one lady on YouTube. I'm talking about mind control done in patterns. And when I mentioned the name Samantha, I believe her last name now was, okay, it was Samantha Amber Castle Queen. The two daughters were adopted by Angela Queen. I didn't know the Queen name, but this is where I've gone up and down off the Mountain Pass Road, and everybody around here knows it. I mean, they were told not to help me, and it's unreal. But anyway, their names, it's their names. They were deliberately put there. The mother's name and father's that they adopted, these two, they had two of their own, but they're biological sisters. I'd have to get their names out. I put it up. It's Samantha, which was used in it so much, as in you're getting enough there to programming that people should have listened a long time ago to what's going on with Meghan Markle, her half sister. And they made it so it's Samantha, named Samantha. But there's a lot more. They're married with children, and people tune it out. Oh, no, this is not happening. You get into genealogy and so high up that you wonder really who's in control, okay? So if I've left it confused, I'm going to put this up last. Scott Peterson was mentioned again, and I've mentioned it on my tapes, because he's on death row, and that's a program and done in patterns. Okay, they mentioned it on the Mr. what's his last name, Watts, that just killed his supposedly killed his family, Chris Watts. I don't get that much from it other than his behavior and knowing what's going on with these murders. But the Frederick, Colorado means a lot. He just was, I'm sure, I can't prove this one or anything, but that he was programmed to kill his family. Now, he's going to be on death row, you know, and they even mentioned Scott Peterson in this. The other thing before I go is there was one that was so blatantly in the patterns in Cobb County, Marietta, where I lived so long, and I was almost killed April Fool Day of 80. There was a man that left, his child in the car, and the child died from heat. This one, you're told to forget. You don't even know you forgot your kid and left him in the car, or her. Can you imagine how these parents feel that they did this to their children? Your media is the one you should lock